Welcome back, guys. We're in the paint booth with our OBS. That's right, we've got our OBS in the booth. We're ready to lay down some graphics. If you watched last week, we got everything in the booth, mask up, ready for base. We got it base, intercoat clear. We lightly scuffed everything down, and now we're ready to lay down some graphics. So, what are we gonna lay down? Yeah, we're gonna go with those flames. I love flames. I've flamed a lot of stuff through the years, a lot of my own vehicles too, and I think OBS's look bitchin' with a really cool set of flames. So we've got some cool ideas we're gonna do here. If you watched last week as well, when we laid down that intercoat clear, we lightly just kind of scuffed back over the whole thing to give ourselves a good mechanical adhesion just in case we didn't stay within that intercoat clear window that we have. But if you are laying down graphics, obviously if you're getting close to that intercoat clear window where you're getting toward the end and you either have to, you got to paint clear, you got to do something with it. So you can sand it, or you can lay down another coat of intercoat clear and you open yourself up a new window for laying down graphics, and you can just continue to do it that way. If you watch that Maverick video where we laid down all the graphics, we never sanded anything because we laid down a coat of intercoat clear, we'd lay down our graphics, we'd do that thing, and then when we got toward the end of that window, we just lay down another coat of intercoat clear and we open it back up. We just keep laying down our graphics. So you can do it that way, but I did it like this to scuff it up and keep that mechanical adhesion just in case I got pulled away and I couldn't come in here for a couple of days. I wasn't having to stress about adhesion and oh my goodness, I gotta go spray it again and all that. So just a light sand over with a red scuff pad and we're good to go there. Now we've got everything cleaned up. So nothing left to do now but start laying down flames and get it masked up. This might be a lot of time-lapse stuff in this video because there's a lot to do, and if you do a big flame job like this, it is very time-consuming. So if I find something cool, we'll stop and talk about it along the way. What we're going to be using is 1/8" vinyl fine line tape. We're just going to pull out what we like. We're going to freehand one side. I'm back and forth on how I like to do it. We may template out that one side we lay out, pounce wheel it, and transfer that to this side. If we do that, I'll show you how we make all that happen, or we may freehand the whole thing. I'm not sure yet. So we're just gonna get one side laid out right now, and once we get that done, we'll figure out how we're gonna approach that other side and we'll go from there. But let's start laying out some flames. This should be fun. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start right in the center of the hood, and we've got this peak, which is telling us that's right where our center is. So what we're gonna do is roughly kind of pull the one flame out. We're gonna make a nice curve right here. We're not so much worried about this, what we're pulling out on the left side right now. We're worried about making the nice even curve. That way when we hop to this side, we know we've got the same transition down at the bottom, and we can make those just keep flowing across. So let's get going. I think a lot of this is just whatever you want to do, and that's what I like about custom paint is there's nothing saying we got to start down here or up here or what kind of flame we pull or anything like that. You just do whatever you want. If it looks cool to you, then that's literally all that matters. So I think I'm going to come up roughly about a foot. So let's just say that that's going to be coming out of that curve. Always, kids, make sure that the battery on your camera is fully charged before you start doing anything like this. Because mine wasn't, It went dead, and you missed the whole thing. Well, really, you did miss the whole thing. What I'm doing right now is I started getting the hood laid out. You were seeing that, and I'm just kind of moving along, obviously, down the side of the truck, but I'm not set in stone on anything yet. So really what I've been doing is just pulling a lot of lines, trying to figure out what I like, and I think I'm to a point that I do have something that I like, so we're just gonna keep on going with that. And once we get all this actually taped, we're gonna lock all this fine line down with 3/4 inch tape so all these curves don't start to try to pull up, and then we're redoing the whole thing. But so far what I've got is I don't want anything to look the same, if that makes sense. So going down the side of the truck, I don't want every flame to be the same. I don't want them doing the same thing. I don't want the same curve. I really don't want the same of anything. I have a certain flame I like. Certain flame I really like. So we're doing that through the truck, but we've got some kind of interweaving. We've got some that are just tight with each other. We're just kind of all over the place with them. And I think that's going to look really cool that it's just not the same front to back, because this is a big truck. And to be honest with you, this is pretty hard to do on something that is so big, yet you've got kind of a narrow space to work in, but you've got 20 feet you've got to go with flames. So we've got to make it where it all fits within the side of the truck, which is a bit difficult to do. So I've gotten back all the way to the back of the bed. I've got one that's running back now, and what I'm trying to figure out is where I'm going to run it back to make another curve to start making another set of flames down the bottom. Once we do that, other than a few lines that I don't like, we've got it pretty well situated. And the other thing I wanted with this, I don't know if we talked about it with the flames, is I wanted really big flames. Since it's such a big truck, I didn't want a ton of little flames and interweaving and all over the place. I wanted some big, bulky flames. And that's what we've got. So, and at the end of the day, we haven't sprayed any paint yet. So if we walk in tomorrow and go, yeah, I'm not feeling it, we can take it all right back off. So we've got a couple hours, if even that, and laying these down. I'm going to say probably an hour. We've probably got an hour in this. So, I mean, it's not like we've wasted a lot of time on anything, but let's keep going. Hopefully, hopefully the battery won't die on the camera. That really sucks. It's flames, you can really just kind of do whatever you want. One thing I don't like with flames, which is total personal preference, because there's a ton of ways to do a bunch of different flames, is I don't like the crab claw style flames where the tips are curved towards each other. I just like where they're kind of flowing away from each other in each set of flame. You can see there we've got a flat spot. There's some trash or something they got in the tape, so the tape, it had a nice curve and it's kind of fell down, so we're gonna have to redo that section. But right now the big thing is just figuring out how we're gonna finish off this bottom. We're gonna make another curve, and we're gonna put another set here, and then come down and probably make another curve and another set somewhere in here. That's gonna be my guess for how this is about to go. All right, so what we're doing now is we're making the template to flip to the other side. So we've taped down some paper that's a bit transparent. We're gonna make some alignment marks, like where jams are over here. We're gonna mark out where the hood is. So when we flip this, we'll have alignment marks to be able to lay this back out. You can obviously freehand these. I actually like to freehand, but we're gonna see if we can do this pounce pattern. I typically take a crayon. I'll take the flat side of the crayon and I'll just start rubbing it over it, and you'll see you get the outline of your flames. We can then pounce it, flip it, and make our pattern to that side. Now with today's kind of technology, having our phones and video and photos right there at your fingertips, that's typically the way I've done it in the past, or at least recently, is I'll lay them out, I'll just take a picture and I'll go to the other side and I'll pull them, because you have pretty good reference points of where you need to pull the flame, and you see exactly what it looks like. Plus I know how I like to lay my flames out, so I know kind of that design I'm pulling anyway. Okay. So I've been playing around with this a little bit more. Once we hop over to the other side, I'm gonna time lapse that whole thing. But this is just something that's pretty time consuming and kind of critical getting it all laid out. So I'm just really focusing on this right now. What I've done is I've laid out a second set of flames on top of these. We obviously can't have those up there right now, but I wanted to take a look at that. So we're gonna unmask those. Once we get the main set of flames actually masked, painted, and all that, we'll come back and we'll lay this second set of flames down, because we'll do a different fade in there and really make those stand out. And what that's doing is it's kind of filling in some of these small voids that I'm not liking. Another thing I did was went through and I kind of did a little seaweed effect on some of the ends. I'm not really a big fan of that type of flame. I like those just swooping out flames like we talked about. But we've got so many of those going on, I've added some of these to the end where it's just got a little wave effect to it. I don't think I'm gonna do it on the hood, I'm not decided yet. But we're gonna get these unmasked and start templating out this side. The paper that I'm using, I've got this huge roll of paper that we ordered it from Uline, I believe. And this is paper that obviously we use for templating, but also on our plasma table, it has a tracer. So we use this. If we have a part, we can trace out onto the paper, we can transfer it over to the plasma table, and it will actually trace it out on this paper. So we keep a huge roll of that around for things like that. So what I'm doing now is we've got it taped up to the bedside. So we want to make a lot of reference points here. So since this paper has a straight edge on it, we have the edge of this paper following the edge of the bedside. Then what we're gonna go around and do is we're gonna start making sure that we've got it smooth. We're gonna start tracing out things like our wheel well and all that. So when we take this paper and we flip it to the other side, we should be able to line all of this stuff up where we've made our reference marks, and they should be in the same place. So now that we've got all the template done, we've got everything traced out, we've got a lot of points here where we know where to flip it and put it on the other side, so we should be good on everything. It's looking good. So now we're gonna get this off, we're gonna take it over to the other shop, and I'm about to show you something crazy. So I told you it was kind of crazy. So that's Bob's electric Pounce Junior from 1914. So
about as old as me.
yeah, when did you get that thing?
I bought it used actually in probably early 80s. An old sign maker guy that was going totally vinyl at the time. And I still had use for it for stuff like this, the custom flames and just unique free-handed lettering and stuff like that. So it came in nice to make patterns with it.
Well, out of all the years of doing this stuff, I never knew one of those existed. So it's pretty cool, unless you get shocked with it. Basically what it's doing is making a ground. When you touch it, it's kind of arcing and it's creating all these little holes. Like if you hand wheeled with a Pounce wheel, you'd hand wheel it out. That just makes it a whole lot quicker. But Bob will show us how all this is going to work. Bob had found it, was trying to make sure it still worked, and I thought, well, if it doesn't work, we'll buy one. Then I looked that thing up, and it still looks exactly like that, like it's never changed. It was $1,200. And I was like, I'm not buying one of those. That's great.
What's the price on the top that I paid on?
Let's see, $60.
Used. Don't know how much they cost back then, but yeah, you just fill this box with chalk, got a little pad on there, and just basically rub it across the pattern, and it should leave a chalk trace out of your pattern.
Right there. Yep, so you can see it transfers it over. So once we tape it up on the OBS, we'll be able to do that. It'll transfer that chalk line over. And if we have any like little dust like that, we can wipe it away, and then we'll just follow this outline with our tape. We pounce the inside line of our tape, so we'll tape around the outside of it, follow that through, and we should match the other side almost perfect. Looking sweet. All right, well, we're getting really close now. We're pretty much ready to start laying down some color. We're gonna go over, we're gonna check our tape, make sure everything's laid down good everywhere. And we should be good to go. We've got to give it one good cleaning. Since we did chalk this side, we want to make sure everything's good and clean. And now we're going to start mixing up some paint. So here's the plan. I think part of being a custom painter, I think, is there's so many different things we could do here. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to leave the front of the truck red. So when you see the front of the truck and you're looking head on at it, there's going to look like there's nothing done to it. I think what I'm going to do is mix a little bit of orange into the red that we have, and I'm going to start a fade on the top of the hood right where it curves off the grill. And then we're going to slowly fade that orange into darker oranges as we go back. And then our last orange we'll then take and we'll hit all of the tips. Once we're done with that, obviously get it unmasked and figure out if we're going to shadow all the flames. It looks really bitchin' to shadow all of them, but it is a tremendous amount of work, and we don't have a lot of time, and this is obviously time consuming. We've been working on this for a while. We do have to shadow our overlap, so we know we'll do that, and then we're going to pinstripe outline all of the flames if we think it needs it. So we're going to get that all, once we get it unmasked, we'll be able to take a look at it and kind of decide that from there. But let's mix up some paint. So here's the Porsche red that we sprayed the truck with. I've filled this quart can up with about 16 ounces of the red. We're going to grab some colors off of our Glasurit mixing bank, start putting it in here and just changing this color. What we want to make sure we do is just mix a little too much. That way, if we ever scratch the truck or anything happens, we've got plenty to be able to go back and to spot in on it. So we've got a little bit of organic yellow. It's the 55 line in 141. We're going to drop a little bit into our red. It should start bringing orange just a little bit. All right, so that's a pretty subtle change from the red, but it gives it a little bit of that orange hue. So I think we'll start the front of the hood with this, and then we're going to really brighten it up to another orange, and then we may take the ends more to a yellow and then hit all the tips. I'm kind of changing this as I'm going, just what's popping in my mind that I think is going to look cool, that'll be different from what we've done before, or maybe even different from what you see every day, because that's what's awesome about this is you can literally do anything you want. We can paint them green and purple if we want to. But I think that's looking pretty cool. Let's go look at that to the truck. Got our 3 colors. I think we're ready to go. All right, so we're gonna go around, make sure all of our tape is pressed down really good, give it a good tack. I've already cleaned it, so we're good there. Got all the paint madness over here. All right, so we've got our yellow down. We've got all of our tips done, I think. We've got a lot of interweaving flames in there, so we'll have to double check and make sure we did get all those tips, because some of those flames we had to unmask, and we basically have to remask them. Don't worry about it. What we're gonna do now, we're gonna clean this out. We're gonna water down a little bit of black. We're gonna put it in here. We're gonna have to remask some of those flames that are overlaying the other ones, shadow those, that way you get the appearance that is another flame right there that's sitting above it. And then once that's done, we should be able to unmask it, and we'll start seeing then if we want to do a pinstripe. So here's what I mean by that, what we need to shadow. So right here, you can see this flame. This is the tip. It's running over the top of this flame, and then it's connecting back right here. Now when we sprayed the orange down, we couldn't just leave that pinstripe tape there, because potentially if we don't pinstripe, or our pinstripe we do put down isn't as thick as the pinstripe tape, you're gonna have that line running through there that you have to figure out how to get rid of. So you cut that tape away to be able to spray it all orange. Now what we'll do is run our tape back down through here to follow the outline of this flame, and then we will shadow along the bottom of it. So when we pull that off, you'll then see the outline of the flame laying on top of this one. right, now we've got everything unmasked. We've got a few spots we got to go kind of touch up here and there. The front, we've got to spray a little of the red that's on the truck. Back here, I got a little bit too much of the orange toward the front, and I don't want to paint the bumper or the grill, so we're going to fade some of this red back into that. But what we're doing right now is, now that we've got it unmasked, we obviously have paint build up here because we added paint to it. And what happens is you create a little bit of an edge right here. Not a big deal. And then we're going to stripe it. So it's not the end of the world if you leave that. But what I like to do, just to try to make it to where we don't clear this thing multiple times, is I take a razor blade, I tape up the ends so there's no sharp points. You can also use a plastic razor blade for this. I just personally don't like that as much. This is really quick. We're going to go through, we're just going to drag that razor blade over the edge. That's going to knock that hard line off, make it a little softer, and then when we clear it, we won't have to bury so much clear. So if I put a little bit of a shadow up, you can, right there, you can see that edge. See how that's sticking up? Now that's gone. That's going to make it a lot nicer when we clear it. Two more coats of Intercoat Clear. We'll let that sit, probably scuff it again maybe, and then we're going to stripe it tomorrow. Oh, a lot of work so far, but we've made some good progress. It's looking bitchin'. I'm really digging how it looks. The blue pinstripe on top of the orange and the red looks great. I'm loving that. We used Alpha Enamel paint for that with our MAC brushes. Bob hit one side, I took the other. We got it knocked out in a day. So now I've got everything wiped down, cleaned up, ready for some clear coat. So we're gonna go mix up our Glasurit Clear and we're gonna pile it on. So what we're using on the OBS and what we use on all of our cars around here is the Glasurit 923 210 Clear. Absolutely love this clear. Like I said, every car you've seen in our shop, that's what it's got on it. Cuts and buffs really well. I like the way it cures. It doesn't shrink up a ton. It's got a really good finish to it right out of the gate. So this has been my go-to for probably the last 7 or 8 years now. I would say we've been using that one. So we've got the 352 270 reducer. That's what we use in the 210 Clear. And we've got the 929 250 activator. So this clear can actually mix 2-to-1 or 3-to-1. I've tried both ways and I find that I like the 3-to-1 a little better. So we're gonna get this mixed up. I'm gonna get suited up and then we're gonna start laying down some clear. The 2-to-1 or 3-to-1, it's 3 parts clear to 1 part activator. And then you can go 10 to 20% on your reducer, which is not a lot. Oh man, that was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun. So we wanted something a little different with this. We've laid out a ton of different style flames through the years. You know, and there is a million ways you can do it. Skinny, long flames, short ones, seaweed ones, curves, craziness everywhere, and lots of ways you can do it. On this, we wanted something a little bit different. We wanted a big, fat, long flame because the truck's so big. I think it looks pretty cool. What we did, we started interweaving kind of at the back door. It gets a little busy here, and then it kind of opens back up. We did leave some space up front because the plan was to add a second set of flames. And once we got around to that, I started kind of looking at our deadline we're trying to make, and I was kind of iffy on if we could do that or not. So what we're going to do is go ahead and progress the truck, and if we see we have time, we're going to hit that too. If not, no big deal. We've got it cleared. We can always do that later on if we decide to do it. We freehand pinstripe the flames. Me and Bob tag teamed that and knocked it out. I like that freehand look. That's not going to be perfect when you do it that way, but it's just one of those things that's kind of I guess a dying art. You don't see a lot of people doing that anymore. I like that look, but if you do want it perfect, you don't have to stripe it by hand. Once you lay out that initial tape for those flames, that 1/8" tape we laid out right in the beginning, you can tape to each side of that tape and then end up pulling that center piece out. You can airbrush that and you'll have a perfect crisp line if that's what you're after. And that looks really bitchin' too. So we may end up adding that second set. Hopefully we get to that. We did sit the bed on because we needed pictures of the truck. We're working on a little project with somebody. They needed pictures. We've got to yank the bed back off because we're having to refinish the rear section of the frame. Luckily, we've got a breaking point there. I did not want to pull the truck completely apart. So we've refinished some of that. We've got our 2 link bars need to be re-chromed. So we're going to get a lot of that stuff re-chromed. And couple of things up front's the same way, so we're going to deal with that. We got a little bit of engine work that'll be coming up that we have to do on it, accessory drive that we'll have to do, and hopefully build some engine panels. Right now, we've got the interior stripped out. Joey at Outlaw Garage is helping us with all of our MTX audio stuff. Jason from MTX will also be in to help do a lot of that. So Joey is building our speaker pods right now for the door panels. So we'll get all that knocked out ahead of time, and then we're going to show you guys the whole interior build. Next up is I've already rewired a lot of stuff in here. We've consolidated that wiring, so now we're going to foam the floor, get our apex where we've carpet in there, and start wrapping some of those panels. We've got the headliner cut out, so we're actually thinking about doing a big rag top in here. A couple of reasons we're doing that. One, it's cool. Second, it actually saved me a lot of time for something else we were going to have to do, so we'll look at that. And so we're going to have to get the bed back off. I'll probably do the chassis and all that stuff off camera because we're basically just kind of stripping it down and refinishing that. So I think we've definitely done enough of that. I think next up for us, we're going to try to hop into this interior, start getting a little bit ahead because we've got 2 days coming up very soon where Jason from MTX and Joey at Outlaw Garage are both going to come in here. And my guys with them, we're going to see if we can do a 2 to 3 day full interior build with Apex leather. So that should be a lot of fun. I can't wait to show you guys that. We appreciate all the nice comments and all the support. We've been posting this thing over the past month on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. The truck itself has almost more than 2 million views on those platforms. So you can imagine the amount of DMs I've been getting, and they've all been positive. All the comments have been great. We've only seen 1 or 2 of you know what you get out there, but you can't worry about those. But luckily, custom paint, it's not everybody's cup of tea. And, if we painted it red, somebody would have said it needed to be black. We did the flames orange, somebody would have said they needed to be green. That's just how it goes sometimes. So as long as it's making you happy, it's all that matters. So anyway, we appreciate all the support, all the nice comments. We've got a little giveaway that's going to be coming up with this truck soon, so stay tuned for all that stuff. It's been a lot of fun so far. We've had to get into more than we've wanted to, but that's okay. We're just making it even better. So see you guys next time.